This is a very special introduction for me to make. Nick Russell, Vice President of Operations from Watch Duty, is here. He flew in this morning. For all of us in Los Angeles, it's a heartfelt gratitude to you, Nick, and your team for what you've done with the app, for the millions of lives that you've impacted, saved, including pets, right? So it's had such a profound impact. So we thought when we decided to move the summit to Los Angeles, we said in a small measure, this is our way of saying thank you back to your team and also raising awareness of the wonderful work that you do. Nick, the floor is yours.
Thank you, everybody, and thank you for the warm welcome here. It's a bit bittersweet to be in Los Angeles here in 2025 following the January events. Since then, a bit has changed since the video, so we're up to 6.5 million active devices, 17 million users. I'm now the chief operating officer, so everybody blames everything on me now instead of just half of the things. But lots of excitement has come. We've doubled that staff number. We now have 30 paid staff. We have agency representatives. In the last couple of weeks, we brought on a meteorology team. So lots of exciting things coming from Watch Duty, but really kind of diving into where this all started and why we did it, right? Wildfires are becoming more frequent and more destructive, unfortunately. And so with all the challenges that exist between different radio platforms, social media platforms that government agencies supply their updates on, they end up with a comment section, people talking about these were started with space lasers, this gas station's exploded and gone. None of it's true, right? And so how do you give people clear, actionable information in one place where they don't have to sift through that conspiracy theory aspect of things? So we needed to start small. The problem was real in Sonoma County. You heard John Mills, our CEO and co-founder, talking about his experience in 2020. Mine starts back in 2017 as a resident of Sonoma County. We had the Tubbs fire begin shortly after 10 p.m. and an emergency notification from the county was never sent. There was challenges with who could send that alert. That person was on vacation. As a result of that, there's many more people that can send that alert now, but what it really did is highlight there's got to be redundancies in this system, whether it's the government that does it or a nonprofit organization like ourselves. So we kicked it off in Sonoma Lake and Napa County in Northern California in the North Bay area in 2021. August, we launched, had about 10 people at that time. Fast forward to the next year, we expanded the entire state of California, got up to about 20 people. That's when I joined the team, and as I stand here today, we have 318 volunteers, 29 paid staff, 22 states, 1,476 counties, and we're looking to expand to the entire United States by the end of this year. So what we're really doing here is creating a free emergency alerting service that gets rid of those 10 browser tabs and gets it all into one place, because the last thing people want to do in an emergent situation is cycle through apps, social media platforms, and all these places. Just want to see it all in one place. So one of the biggest challenges we identified was around evacuation zones. Every county in California specifically can go choose their own provider or their own way to communicate. Here in Los Angeles County, they made the decision to use Genesis, which is a fantastic product and a partner of ours. But as soon as you cross some of these county lines, they may be using an Esri product like ArcGIS. And it's a new system, it's a new data format. And so in many instances, it's not displayed. And what you saw here in the introduction was Watch Duty up at the Los Angeles County Emergency Operations Center. And the biggest reason is because fires don't care about county lines, state lines, borders. Neither do we. We can't, right? And so all the data has to be in one place, and that's why it was on that board. And what we're trying to do is bring all this together, bringing the machines and the humans together. We have powerful tools to bring all the signals into one place. Slack is where we operate. You'll see that in a moment here. But then we have the humans to decide when we need to escalate those things. And that's a powerful part, and bringing it all into one place makes it easy for people to understand what's happening. So our mission is to be the definitive platform for actionable disaster intelligence, starting with wildfire. We didn't call it fire duty for a reason, because there's more disasters that need the same contextual information. And so this spring, we're going to be moving into flooding as an additional hazard. And As fires burn and are stripped of vegetation in the landscape, there's an increase for mud and debris flows. That is also encompassed in the flooding aspect. So we built Watch Duty for communities. This was never built for first responders. It was built to solve the situation where the emergency alert never comes. It comes an hour later, or I'm trying to sift through just to get an idea of what's going on. But what we found out over time is that every first responder in a community was using Watch Duty for the very same reasons we built it for the community. I think we just never understood that government agencies face some of the same challenges that we do. And so bringing this picture back up, this is a really humbling moment for us, because with $1 million in budget plus, you have Watch Duty as a $79 product, which we actually gave to LA in this situation, along with LAFD for all their command vehicles to help during this time. But it's just really neat to see the vision we put together getting used in real time. So I'm not sure if this video will play, we'll see, but we have a quick video on how our signals intelligence platform works. There's audio with this, but it might not. Yeah, we're gonna skip the video. Okay, no worries. So kind of diving into it here, we disseminate signals in many ways. So the biggest thing in an emergency response is radio traffic. Old technology, kind of back to the typewriter stuff we were just looking at, but it works. Radios work when nothing else does. When cell towers are down, when there's other terrestrial signal issues, radios still work. And so we deploy our own radio devices throughout the state of California, as well as 9 other western states, and they intercept these radio transmissions, put them up in the cloud so that emergency operations as well as the Watch Duty team can use those. We have partnerships with private audio platforms that do exactly the same thing. And one of the approaches that we take is being data agnostic. We don't care what type of data is, as long as it's structured, we pull it in. And so in the federal system, we're integrated with WildCAD, which handles all wildfires on federal lands. And then on the state-to-state side, the National Interagency Fire Center logs all wildland events that go through local CAD systems. So we intercept those as well. Here in the state of California, excuse me, the California Highway Patrol's CAD system. So the same system that's dispatching officers and providing details on that. We extract keywords out of that, as well as signals for our team to disseminate. And we have partnerships with UCSD's Alert California and our partners at Alert West for the AI detections on the cameras. So here in the state of California, we're a bit spoiled. We have just over 1,200 cameras on mountaintops throughout the state. Each one of those is capable of doing AI detections with a 360 rotation every 2 minutes, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So in the instance of the Palisades fire, even though the camera had to wait for the smoke to get up out of there, it still detected the fire 2 minutes after the initial 911 dispatch. And then the previous fire on New Year's Day in the area, it had picked up immediately. So really neat technology being used there, as well as N5 sensors, which is basically a chemical sensor to find smoke fumes that are originating from a wildfire. So I talked about Slack a little bit before. Everything that we do happens in Slack. Our collaboration we'll touch on in a second here, but it all happens in Slack. So what you're seeing is a signal from the National Interagency Fire Center. Underneath it, we show the 7 closest wildfire cameras. We pull the metadata from those cameras to see the azimuth where that camera is looking at. And so we find the cameras that are looking at our incident, at our signals. And so what we're looking for is, what does the vegetation look like? Is it green? Is it brown? Is it ready to burn? Most importantly, is there smoke showing? We have all the relevant radio feeds there and additional details, and so our team can dive into it. And if there is a threat to the public life, property, or this can be seen from a great distance, you see the Watch Duty alert come up on the map, and then we enrich that with our partnership through Purple Air with PM 2.5 detections, the aircraft tracking, satellite heat detections, and of course the surface wind that's in there as well. So I talked about radio being an essential part of what we do. When I joined the team, that very small number of people that I had talked about would listen to emergency radio traffic in varying areas throughout the state of California all day long. Every waking moment of the day, they're listening to something, but that includes motor vehicle accidents, lift assists, and a lot of other mentally taxing things. So how can we give people alerts when there's a wildfire, when attention needs to be paid? And That's when our Echo Radio project was born, to do just that. So we partnered with Google to use some of their AI technology and reverse one of their models that does CBRS cell phone coverage to see how our radios, where they could be most effective throughout the state of California. So inside of them is 7 software-defined radios. The blue radio you see in there tracks aircraft. And so all this goes back to the app. It goes back to communities to use, first responders, as well as our team. And we can use all that radio information in real time. But the real secret sauce behind it, and what you're seeing here, is one of our devices deployed at a firehouse in Grants Pass, Oregon. But the secret behind this is the tone out detection. So whenever a 911 call is made, and let's say it's for a vegetation fire, the dispatch center has a predefined list of resources they're gonna send. Some of those are aircraft, dozers, hand crews, and of course, just everyday fire engines. What our system does is intercept those tones that set off the alarms at stations, pagers, and it tells our team, hey, there's an aircraft, dozer, and hand crew being dispatched. We're pretty sure there's a wildland fire there. Then it sends our team 1-minute audio snippets with all the dead air removed, so they can continue to listen to those dispatches and responding units the whole way. They're seeing smoke, whatever it might be. So Echo radio devices have really enhanced our observability. So as we've switched from 10 to 15 people to 300 plus, one of the most challenging things becomes the output of the app. I talk about millions and millions of people receiving these alerts. Los Angeles County, we send 1 push notification to the county and it goes to 3 million plus people simultaneously. So it's something we take very seriously, and that's what the code of conduct is built to protect. Watch duty, our reputation, and maintain integrity. So we don't use hearsay, we only use official information. Even if a news outlet said it, we still want to go back and vet that with a first responder authority, so that we're not giving people a false sense of hope or disaster, whatever it might be. We don't offer our opinions, so I have people on our team who were in the fire service 30, 40 years, and there's nobody that knows fire better than them. But when it comes to reporting one, unless they're standing there in front of the flames, they're not offering their opinion. It's just the facts coming through the app. We never use names, and we don't talk about injuries. This is not about being theatrical or sensationalizing. It's about clear, concise information. So if there's civilian injuries, firefighter injuries, you'll never find them in watch duty. Addresses are another one. We'd rather use geographic locations and block numbers, because that's not what we're here for. And collaboration's on there because we require it. There's no lone wolves at watch duty. We have people scattered throughout the United States, around the world, ready to respond at a moment's notice, and they're there, and so we require collaboration. And really the goal is to bring all of this into one place. It's not gonna play, so I'm not gonna show that, but it's the evacuation zones, the satellite heat detections, real-time fire perimeters from the state's aerial platforms. So as fires are progressing, we're showing those updated perimeters near real time. And then we also wanna use our reach for education and awareness. So as we move outside of the active part of fire season, we get into prescribed burn season. There's a lot of efforts made, and it's been proved that these efforts stop the disastrous spread of wildfires. But even though it's wintertime, you see smoke in the hills, and it concerns folks. So having that information about why there's smoke up there, what are the intentions of this project, is it a fuel break? Are we trying to clean up a state park? But having all that information can quench folks' fears, and then also gain additional understanding about why this stuff is being done, of course. These are some of the pro features that we built into Watch Duty. I mentioned we built this for citizens, but then first responders were mentioning how they have the same problems. One of the biggest problems they have is all their radio information is in paper binders in the engine to this day. 2025, moving into 2026, it's in a binder. And so they pull into a new area. You have mutual aid come from Sacramento down here to LA during the Palisades fire to help. What radio channel do we go on? Look in the binder, right? And so we put it in watch duty. Now you see the blue dot, you see the repeaters around you, and you can see what channels to get on. We block nefarious characters from interfering because it's obfuscated to match the state radio load, which nobody but first responders has. Another neat thing we were able to get in there is responsibility areas. So is this federal land, state land, local land, tribal land? private property data. One of the biggest things is fire personnel come onto a large piece of property. How many buildings are here? I see one right in front of me, but maybe there's 4 more in the back. So this gives them all those details, tells them how many buildings are on the property, what the zoning type is, flood zones. They can measure distances off of the fire or other points of interest. And this is incredibly handy for aircraft. They get dispatched based off of bearings and distances. So they might leave an air base and say it's going to be 260 degrees for 45 miles. They can drop that on their air base, set the pin, set the bearing, and follow the line. Another thing that we put in there is the ability for them to go back and do their after-action reviews right here in Watch Duty. We do after-action reviews on large fires as well. We have rapid response plans. So in the instance of the Palisades fire, you heard Sekar talk about our staffing that we did. So about 3 hours after the fire started, we started a rapid response plan for the entire Southern California area, started staffing patterns, holding people on 24 hours, 12 on, 13 off with 1 hour overlaps for the next week. And all that comes together because of previous after-action reviews. And so we want to help agencies be able to do the same thing. Critical infrastructure, a lot of people don't think about this, but those overhead transmission lines, when they start getting smoke blowing up into them, there can be catastrophic effects. The smoke is effectively like water on the power lines, and they will go phase to phase and potentially start more fires. So the quicker that fire personnel can be aware that there's high voltage transmission lines in the area, the quicker they can make contact with those agencies to de-energize if that has not happened. And all that information's right here in Watch Duty. And sometimes there's underground gas lines that bulldozers and other large equipment run over, and people need to be notified about that as well. And another neat thing that's not depicted in here is fire progression models. So there's been really neat advancements with AI and machine learning to accurately depict where a fire is likely to travel based on environmental conditions. One of those ventures is through UCSD, through the Y-Fire Lab. There's another one through a company called Pi Regents, through SIG, and then there's another one through Alert West, the camera network. And so those are displayed within Watch Duty, and you can really get and understand, much like a hurricane model, where's this fire going to go? And so that's all been brought into one place. And Teams is just the nerdy stuff we had to do to be able to help our enterprise and government customers. But with that, I want to thank everybody for the opportunity to talk a little bit about Watch Duty and how things happen.
All right. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Very impressive. Obviously, to all the volunteers who are part of your team, debt of gratitude to them. Couple of questions, right? Obviously, it's a fragmented landscape when it comes to government data, responsiveness, teams on the ground, different departments, fire, police, first responders, medical crews. How did you convince these people to come on board? Because obviously they had a need for sure, correct? But I'm sure it was not easy. So how did you go about approaching, because you're now in 22 states?
Yeah, I think the hardest part first was just convincing that we were different than everybody else. Because there's other people that have attempted to do this, but then they wanted to monetize it. And we said, no, we're gonna be free forever. We're never gonna sell toasters and fire hoses in the app when people are trying to evacuate. There's just not a place for ads here. And so they're like, okay, this is starting to sound better. And so what happened is a lot of these people join and then they just sit on the sidelines and they're like, I wanna make sure that he's telling the truth about that. And so I think once we started to build that reputation, it was kind of like putting your boot on the door and trying to hold everybody out. In the beginning, we struggled to get volunteers, right? There was people who saw this was a problem, wanted to help, but is Watch Duty a nefarious organization? TBD, right? But now our volunteer base grows 6% month over month. My poor assistant can't keep the door closed on onboarding. So it's just a neat experience.
And like any startup or any organization, the bulkier you get, the bureaucratic you get, which has been the problem with Texas floods, problem with Katrina, you can go on and on, right? So what do you do differently in Watch Duty that keeps the volunteers nimble, keeps the noise to the minimum? What kind of culture, how are you building? Because these are all volunteers. They're not necessarily contractually obligated as an employee to your firm.
Yeah, it's all about environment, right? It's about inclusiveness, it's about welcoming, and it's about always being the difference. but it certainly gets challenging as we get larger and you want to make SOPs and say, this is the step we follow every time, these are the checklists, but that doesn't work. That doesn't work in emergency response because there's always nuance. There's always an outside factor that you don't anticipate. So it's like, hey, we got this big road here. Let's paint lines on both sides and stay in between those. And so that's what we've done. But as we've grown so rapidly, it's maintaining that as a daily job. But when you get so many good humans together and they're for the people, by the people, and they want to continue to solve problems, especially in the current political climate, people just want to separate themselves for that. And hey, I'm a human on earth and I want to help another human. And with that ethos and atmosphere, we stay apolitical and we don't have to write black and white SOPs, and we can still do amazing things with agility.
Absolutely. Nick, pleasure. Thank you so much. Very grateful for the work that you guys do. I would strongly urge everybody, please walk up to him, shake his hand, say thank you, and convey the best wishes to his team. They do incredible work. Thank you for flying in today.
Yeah, thank you. Much appreciated.